Welcome Algebra 1 students to another Regents review video. This is the Algebra 1 Common Core Regents exam for June 2017. These are going to be the solutions to part 1. Questions 1 through 12 of this exam. In my opinion, this test was incredibly fair when it was given. But you might not find it fair because there are some questions down the road in the part 2s that, in my opinion, were not that great. But besides the point, let's just talk about a few things before we begin. Do not take my multiple choice answers and work shown and call them your own and hand them in for any assignment and convince yourself that you did the problems. You need to do the problems by yourself. Algebra 1 is honestly not that bad of a class or a Regents exam. It's the future years that get a little bit tricky. So you need to understand what's going on now in order to do the future stuff. So please don't cheat. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And please consider becoming a patron on my Patreon page. I didn't realize how much money I spent doing this. So it would be nice to just have some sort of payment. But if you don't have the money, that's perfectly fine. I do this for no charge. And make sure that you visit my website at www.nyssmithregentsprep.com. And I use a TI Inspire CX calculator for Algebra 1, and it is one powerful tool. You could find this link on my website. I don't make any profits off it. It links it directly to Amazon. Without further ado, let's begin. Number 1 says, all right, we see a whole bunch of graphs here. Number 1 says, to keep track of his profits, the owner of a carnival booth decided to model his ticket sales on a graph. Okay. He found that his profits only declined when he sold between 10 and 40 tickets. Which graph represents his profits? So what's happening is the slope is negative from x is equal to 10 to x is equal to 40. So if you look at the graphs and if you look at the number of tickets sold, let's find the one where it only decreases from 10 to 40 and then increases after that. Choice 1, I don't see profits ever declining. So this is, well, profits never decline. It's increasing. So that doesn't make any sense. So choice 1's out. That makes no sense. Choice 2. Let's take a look from 10 to 40. Number of tickets sold, 10 to 40. That, ladies and gentlemen, is going up. So that can't be the answer. Number 3. Number of tickets sold. So let's take a look. From 10 to 40, it is decreasing. Then all of a sudden, it is increasing. That looks pretty good so far. Let's make sure that choice 4 doesn't show anything. From 10 to 40, it's increasing, then decreasing, then it increases again. Well, it says in the instructions or the problem, only declined. Doesn't mean that it goes up and then down again, so choice 4 is actually incorrect. Choice 3 is the answer to that question because from 10 to 40, it only declines. That's it. All right, moving on to number 2. The formula for the surface area of a right rectangular prism is A equals 2LW plus 2HW plus 2LH, where L, W, and H represent the length, width, and height respectively. Which term of this formula is not dependent on the height? Okay, so this formula right here is the surface area formula of a right rectangular prism, and that essentially is just a box. Okay, and so just think of yourself taking a box and wrapping it with wrapping paper for the holidays. This is the formula to get it. But besides the point, it's asking you which term of the answers is not dependent on the height. So let me explain what that means to you. Let me explain what that means. Not dependent on the height means if the height changes, the expression has no effect. Meaning, if you change the height and you look at an expression and nothing changes, that is your answer. So let's take a look at choice 1, the letter A. Well, A is equal to 2 length width plus 2 length height plus 2 width height. So what if you change the height? Well, if you change the height, the surface area will change. So this is actually dependent on the height. So this is incorrect. Let's take a look at choice 2, 2LW, or 2 length width. So if we change the height, does it have any impact on this term? No, because the height is not included. Okay, the height's not included. So even if you change the height, this answer doesn't change. So that's your answer. Choices 3 and 4, look at this. The height is right there. So if you change the height, you're changing the numerical value of that expression. So that's why those are incorrect. You're looking for the one that essentially does not have an h in it. Your answer is choice 2. I found that to be quite interesting because they never tested that before on the Regents exam. Number 3, which graph represents the square root of x minus 2? So, you might not know what this is without even sketching it. I do because I've been doing math for a while. But let's just go through each answer choice. Choices 1 and 3 both show a quadratic. Okay? Choice 2 shows a line. Choice 4 shows, just by looking at it, it shows half of a sideways, spelled sideways wrong, sideways parabola. Okay? Now, there is actually a real term for it, but I just call it a sideways parabola for you. So if you look at the equation, a quadratic means that there's an x squared involved. I don't see an x squared. I see the square root of x, but not an x squared. So you automatically know that the quadratics can't work. Choice 2 shows a line. A line means that there's a constant variable x alone by itself. But then again, we have the square root of x. It's not the same thing as x. So that is incorrect. Your answer is choice 4. Now for the majority of you, you don't know that off the top of your head. So what I recommend to do is to just graph it on your calculator. Again, this is the TI Inspire calculator. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the blue graph down here. That actually shows a parabola. Click on that. Okay. And then you're just going to graph your given function that you have, the square root of x minus 2. Boom. There it is, choice 4. Now, if you want me to explain what's going on here, that x minus 2, since it's underneath the square root, that indicates a horizontal shift to the right by 2 units. You might need to use that in future questions where they do ask you about shifts of a graph. Number 4. A student plotted the data from a sleep study in the graph below. Okay, so the y-axis shows average number of hours of sleep per day, and this shows the age. Okay. The student used the equation of the line y equals negative 0.09x plus 9.24 to model the data. What does the rate of change represent in terms of these data? Okay, so real quick, this is an equation of a line. Let's dissect what each piece means. Negative 0.09 is your slope, right? 9.24 is your y-intercept, okay? So if we look at the question, it says, what does the rate of change represent? Well, the rate of change means slope. That's a code word for slope. So let's take a look at choice 1. The average number of hours of sleep per day increases by 0.09 hour per year of age. Is that true? No, because there is clearly a negative correlation and the slope is negative. So why are we increasing? That makes no sense. So get rid of anything that says increasing with the slope. Let's take a look at choice 3. The average number of hours slept per day increases by 9.25 hours per year of age. No, sleep is not increasing. Sleep is decreasing as you get older. Choice 3 is out. Let's take a look at choices 2 and 4. Choice 2 says the average number of hours of sleep per day decreases, all right, so far so good, decreases by 0.09 hour per year of age. Okay, that seems pretty good so far. Let's take a look at choice 4. The average number of hours of sleep per day decreases by 9.24 hours per year of age. So what you're telling me is when you're born, you sleep for 9.24 hours, then by the age of 1, you don't sleep anymore because you decrease by 9.24 hours. That makes absolutely no sense. So it's not that, so either you can know what the equation is showing, which if you know that decreases by 0.09 is the slope, your answer is choice 2, that is correct. But let's just say you didn't know in math terms what that meant. Just by looking at choice 4, that makes no sense because you're not sleeping anymore, okay? So even if you get stuck on a math question on the Regents, just think logically for a second. Does choice 4 make any sense? Absolutely not. Choice 2 is clearly the answer. The average number of hours of sleep per day decreases by 0.09 hours per year of age. That is what the slope is, and that is what the rate of change means in the context of this problem. Number 5, Lynn, Jude, and Ann were given the functions f of x equals negative 2x squared plus 32. And they were asked to find f of 3. Okay. Lynn's answer was 14, Jude's answer was 4, and Ann's answer was plus or minus 4. Who is correct? So basically what you're doing is you're taking the input of 3, all right? This is your input, and this is your function that you need to plug it into. So anytime you see an x in f of x, you're going to replace it with a positive 3, okay? So we're going to take that positive 3 and we're going to plug it in. So f of 3 is equal to negative 2 times 3 quantity squared plus 32. Okay? So f of 3 is equal to negative 2. 3 squared is 9 plus 32. Negative 2 times 9 is equal to negative 18 plus 32. And that is going to yield an answer of the number 14. So who is correct? Lynn's answer was 14. Jude's answer, okay, so it's Lynn only. Your answer is choice 1. Now, let's just say you did not know how to do that. There's another way to do it. Go to your graphing calculator. Again, go to your graph page. Type in the function negative 2x squared plus 32. Okay, we get, all right, I don't care what it looks like, but we have this. Click on Control-T. Go down to where x is equal to 3. This is where x is equal to 3. Look at what the answer is, 14. So that's how you know that you're correct with your answer. Lynn is the only one that guessed or got 14, and that is the correct answer. All right. Moving along, number 6. Which expression is equivalent to 16x to the 4th minus 64? Okay. I personally did not like this question when it was given because this is clearly a factoring question. How most teachers teach it, or all math teachers, I should say, is they tell you to look for the greatest common factor first. Then you move on to the difference of two perfect squares. Then you follow with the trinomial method or the AM method of factoring. Unfortunately, in all of these answer choices, they did not take out a GCF from this. They instead decided to go straight to the difference of two perfect squares, which honestly, it's not breaking any laws of math, but I think that they should have factored the GCF first and then go on with the dots. But the question asks you which expression is equivalent. It's not saying factor it completely. So anyway, besides the point, let's go ahead and factor this by the difference of two perfect squares. So we have 16, x to the 4th, minus 64. We have to think, what is the square root of 16? What is the square root of x to the 4th? And what is the square root of 64? Well, the square root of 16 is 4. The square root of x to the 4th is x squared. And the square root of 64 is 8. So now what you're going to do is you're going to set up a double bubble. I call it a double bubble. Or you could just set up two binomials. And we're just going to plug everything in. 4x squared and an 8. 4x squared and an 8. Now, in the difference of two perfect squares, you need to have a plus and a minus. because the middle term drops out and you're left with that negative sign for the 64. So your answer we're looking for is this: 4x squared plus 8, 4x squared minus 8. Your answer is choice 3. And that's it. Pretty simple stuff. Number 7. Vinny collects population data, P of H, about a specific strain of bacteria over time in hours, H, as shown in the graph below. Which equation represents the graph of P of H? So the best possible way to do this is to honestly graph each function. Okay? There is a way that you could actually calculate this using math, like actual hands-on work. But honestly, if they give you the functions and they give you a graph to match it with, why not just plug it in, right? So let's go ahead and plug in choice 1 first. Okay? Now, keep in mind that it is in terms of H, but your calculator is in terms of X. So you need to make sure that you type in an X instead of an H. It's still the same thing. It's just a different variable. And we get that function. So look here at the ordered pairs that they give you. 0, 4, 1, 8, 2, 16, 3, 32. Let's go back to the calculator. Control T for the table of values. Oh, wait. Oh, wait, whoa. 0, 4, 1, 8, 2, 16, 3, 32. That looks mighty familiar. And that's because choice 1 is your answer. Bingo. And honestly, that is probably the best possible way to do that question. Just understand that it matches. It matches everything. Pretty simple question, okay? Moving on to question number 8. What is the solution to the systems of equations below? Okay, so there's a couple ways that you could do this. First and foremost, they give you 2 equations, of course, because it's a system of equations. And we're given that y is equal to 2x plus 8, okay? And we're given this. There's 2 ways that you could do this. Either you could distribute that 3 in, cancel out one of the terms, like x or y, and then you solve from there. But that, honestly, is not the best way to do this problem. Look at this. They tell you what y is equal to. Use what's called substitution. Okay? Use it. Use what's called substitution. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take that 2x plus 8. Wherever you see a y in the second equation, you're going to replace it with this. Look at that. Pretty simple stuff. So all we need to do is just rewrite it. Forgetting this now because we are just substituting it back into this other equation, the blue equation. So we get 3 times negative 2x plus, in parentheses, 2x plus 8, because that is what y is equal to up here, is equal to 12. Now, look at this, folks. We have everything in terms of x. Now it's easy. We have everything in terms of x. Let's go ahead and solve, okay? So what I would like to do first is let's divide by the 3. Okay, let's divide by that 3. We get negative 2x in parentheses plus parentheses 2x plus 8 is equal to 4. Okay, do what's inside the parentheses. Negative 2x and 2x cancel. Huh? We're left with 8 is equal to 4. Where did my x go? The x is gone. Well, I can't solve for it. By the way, is 8 equal to the number 4? No, that's false. That is false information. So what this is telling you is if you eliminate all of your x's, there's no more variables in the equation, and you have a number not equal to another number, there are no solutions in your system of equations. Now, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that this 8 was the number 4 is equal to 4. Well, then that would mean, ladies and gentlemen, that would tell you it's infinite solutions. But that's not the answer because we have 8. 8 is not equal to 4. That is false information. We're given no solution. Pretty simple with that. Now, I'm going to, of course, show you how to do it on the calculator. It's actually a pretty neat tool on the calculator. All right, so if you go to the actual calculator application and you go to Menu, go down to Algebra, then click on Solve System of Linear Equations, okay? There's 2 equations, x's and y's, fine. Let's go ahead and do it. Y The equal sign is right underneath the control button. So I'm just typing in exactly what they give me on the exam. Y is equal to 2x plus 8, right? And then we got 3 times negative 2x plus y equals 12. Look at that. They even tell you no solution found in the calculator. So you are destined to get this right on your Regents if you have this calculator. So it's all these little tricks and tools that could help you just to make sure that you double check your answer and get it completely right. So your answer is choice 1. Moving on to number 9. A mapping is shown in the diagram below. Cool. This mapping is what? So this is your X value. This is your Y value. Not really. I mean, it's months. And then I assume it's the days in those months. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what we're talking about here. The mapping is, I assume that this was going to happen, function. Is it a function or is it not a function? All right. Without even looking at the answer choices, you should be thinking about, or what should be jogging in your head, is a function has no repeating X values. So if you look at your input or your X values, January does not repeat. Okay, we're good so far. February, we got 2 arrows from there. Already, you should know that this is not a function. Just for the sole fact that February repeats itself. So let's go ahead and find that answer. Is it a function? Absolutely not. Nope. Let's take a look at choice 3. Not a function, okay, because February has 2 outputs, 28 and 29. In other words, February repeats itself twice. Boom. There's your answer. Choice 4 showing not a function because 2 inputs, January and March, results in 1 output. They tried to trick you there, folks. They tried to say, hey, look, January and March have the same output value of 31. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what happens with the output. We only care about the input values, the X's. We only care about this piece right here, if it repeats or not. Okay? That's number 9. Moving on to number 10. Okay, so it says here, which polynomial function has the zeros of -3, 0, and 4? So in other words, when it says here it has the zeros, 0 means that the polynomial function crosses the x-axis at these locations. Okay? So what's going on here is this. These are the roots, or the zeros, mean the same thing. Let's find the factors. So before setting these numbers or factors equal to 0, let's go ahead and get the reverse of what's given to us. The factors are f of x is equal to x plus 3, x, and x minus 4. Okay? Those are your factors. You just take the opposite of what's given. Now, if it's a 0, it's just an x. Okay? So if we look at all of our answer choices, do any of those match this? X, x plus 3, and x minus 4. Bingo. Choice 3. Now, some of you might be confused. You're like, yo, I don't even know what he just did. So let me explain it to you a little bit further. What the question is asking you is if you take the following answers and you set that whole equation equal to the number 0, will you get these answers up here? Well, I'll prove it for you. Let's take a look at choice 3, which is our answer. Let's take x, x plus 3, x minus 4, and let's set it equal to 0. This is the classic T-bar that many of you remember, or T-chart, okay? So x is automatically equal to 0 because there's no number there. So now, from here, we get x plus 3 is equal to 0, right? Subtract the 3 on both sides, we get x is equal to -3. From here, over here, we get x minus 4 is equal to 0. Add that 4 on both sides, and we get x is equal to 4. As I just proved to you, these 3 answers is what's shown up here, the -3, 0, and the 4. That's what zeros means in terms of polynomials. All right, so your answer is choice 3. Last 2, number 11, Jordan works for a landscape company during his summer vacation. He's paid $12. Okay, we got some things going on here. $12 for mowing lawns and $14 per hour for planting gardens. So it looks like that this is going to be testing our knowledge on 2 different variables, mowing lawns, planting gardens. He could work a maximum of 40 hours per week, probably because of state working laws, right? And would like to earn at least $250 this week. If M represents the number of hours mowing lawns and G represents the number of hours planting gardens, which system of inequalities could be used to represent the given conditions? All right, there's a lot of words here. The first thing that I want you to understand, what you're looking at, is you're looking at in terms of money and hours, profit and time. So one of these equations in your answers, one of those equations will be a function of time, and the other function will be a function of profit or earnings or cash. So let's take a look at all these answer choices. M and G is less than or equal to 40. Okay, what do these mean right here? Choices 1 and 3. And then, of course, you could also conclude what choices 2 and 4. What do those mean to you? What you should be thinking about is, hey, Trevor, I know what that says. This is in terms of time. All of these functions, or all these inequalities, I should say, all of these inequalities are in terms of time. That 40 represents the 40 hours that he could work. Well, again, what does the question say? Well, the question says that he could work a maximum of 40 hours, meaning that he could work 40 hours or less. He cannot work 41, 42, 40. He can't work above 40 hours. So your inequality has to be one of these two. It can't be these because you cannot exceed 40 hours for work. It has to be choices 1 or 3. Now let's take a look at the money functions. These down here, these are the money inequalities, okay? So it says here in the problem that he wants to earn at least $250 this week, okay? Is that less than or equal to or greater than or equal to? Well, at least is a code word for the sign greater than or equal to. Because why would you want to stop at $250? So you're going to earn the $250, like, nope, I'm done. Let me go home now. I earned all the money that I want. No, you want more money. So if you're looking at all these answer choices, choice 1 makes the most sense. He's working less than 40 hours, or less than or equal to 40 hours a week, and he's making $250 or more. That's the key there. So your answer is choice 1. Okay? Honestly, those questions come up on every single exam, so I highly suggest that you understand how to do those questions. They're not that bad, just a lot of words. Last question, number 12. Anne invested $1,000 in an account with a 1.3% annual interest rate. She made no deposits or withdrawals on the account for 2 years. If interest were compounded annually, which equation represents the balance in the account after the 2 years? So what you need to know is this formula. A of t is equal to the principal times 1 plus or minus the rate raised to the t power. This formula needs to be drilled into the back of your brain because it's on every test. So let's talk about what each thing means in this context. A of t represents the total. In this case, dollars, the total dollars. The principal, which is your letter P, is the starting amount or the invested amount. The rate, or the R, is the rate expressed as a decimal. You can't put it as a percent, you have to put it as a decimal. And T represents the amount of time that's passing by. So if you look at all these all of this information, and invested $1,000 in an account. So your P is your 1,000. That's your starting amount. Your 1.3% is your R, but remember that in order to express a percent as a decimal, you have to move that decimal place back by 2 units. So 1.3% changes to 0.013. You're moving that back 2 times, okay? And the T, which is your time, is 2 years. So now what you need to do is you need to take all this information and plug it into the formula. Okay. I need more room. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Put that all over here. Oops. I don't want to do that. Okay. So we have all this information. Let's go ahead and solve it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the p, which is the 1,000. I'm going to plug it in. So a of t is equal to 1,000 times 1 plus or minus the rate, which is 0.013 raised to the second power. Well, if you look at all these answer choices, none of that is here. None of it. All I see is a minus and a plus. These don't make any sense because they fail to change the percentage. But what's going on here? Why is there a minus and a plus? Why is there no plus minus? Because you have to understand what's going on here. And the problem that I have with this course is many of you are not financially independent yet, meaning that you probably don't have your own bank account. Some of you do, some of you may not. Most of you are in 9th grade, some of you are in 8th or even 7th grade or 6th grade. You need to know that interest rate, you are actually being paid by the bank to have your account with them. So personally, I have a bank account through Chase. So every month, if I have a savings account, I actually get paid interest from the bank. Say, hey, thanks for being a customer. Here's some money based off of the amount that you have in your savings account. So this is actually growth. So your answer is choice 2. Okay? Because interest is, again, you're increasing that amount each time. All right? Not that difficult of a question, but you just had to know what interest meant. All right, that is the conclusion of this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, at least the math content, at least. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Consider becoming a patron on my Patreon page, and make sure that you visit my website at www.nysmathregentsprep.com, and I hope to see you soon.